Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Bree Reynolds, and I'm the Career Development Manager at FlexJobs. And we're very excited to be hosting our employer partner today, KellyConnect. And they're going to be talking about the role that they have available that they're hiring a lot of people for right now. And I realize that this says cover letter practices for remote jobs. So I'm just going to click past that. Wrong title slide. Sorry, everyone. This is about a technical support representative job that KellyConnect is offering. And I wanted to do some housekeeping first and offer just a little bit of background on KellyConnect, and then I'm going to turn it over to our presenter today. So FlexJobs, for anybody who's unfamiliar, it's a job search website, and we specialize in remote and flexible jobs. And one of the things we do is try to spotlight employers who are hiring for those types of jobs and really give people a chance to learn how to be a great job seeker for this particular type of job, how to apply, make yourself stand out, and get those details that you always wish you had as a job seeker before you apply to a job. FlexJobs is like I said, a job search service that specializes in remote jobs. We've been around since 2007. And we are always trying to offer webinars and helpful information like this to help job seekers pinpoint remote jobs, make the most of their job search, and just be really effective when they are searching for this type of work. Today, I'm really excited to introduce you, if you're not already familiar, to KellyConnect. They work to provide a continuum of flexible and strategic solutions for contact center management and staffing to meet the unique needs of organizations. And KellyConnect operates under Kelly Services, and Kelly Services is ranked number 6 on the FlexJobs list of the top 100 companies for remote jobs. So we are especially excited. This is definitely a leader in the remote job market, and we're happy to have them here today. So Lauren, thank you very much for being here, and take it away.
All right, well, thank you, Bree. So like Bree said, my name is Lauren Nanny. I am the recruiting strategist with KellyConnect. I am joined today by Melissa Taransky. She may jump in a little bit later in our webinar here, but she's our Senior Director of Staff Management. So she might jump into the conversation as I go along, so I just wanted to introduce her. But a little bit about myself. I have worked for KellyConnect for over 5 years now, always in a recruiting capacity, and I regularly work with all of the KellyConnect clients. But the position we're going to talk to you about today is with our largest client, and it's also our longest relationship. We've been working with them for over 10 years, so we have a really good relationship with them and a really good program that we're going to talk about today. So let's talk about the technical support representative call center position. We like to be very transparent with our candidates. I am going to give you the good, the bad, the ugly of this position, but I'm going to let you in on everything you can expect from this position. There are really great aspects of this role, but of course some challenges that are maybe not the best fit for everyone. So we want to let you know right up front so that way you're making the best decision for your career path. It's just kind of how we roll. So that's what we'll go through today. So this is a completely virtual position. Our advisors take inbound calls from customers in their home office. And the types of calls that they take are customer service and technical support in nature. So if you've ever had an issue with your phone or computer or maybe another technical device, you would call into one of our agents and they would help you troubleshoot the hardware or software issue that you might be having. On the back end, they're also doing things that you don't see, like maintaining your customer file, maybe scheduling a follow-up call, checking for any type of fraud activity, anything that needs to be made sure that you're having the best customer experience. So as you can see on your screen here, we're going to go through a couple of different topics. First is the work environment. So because this is a virtual position, we do have a lot of security requirements. As a customer myself, when I'm calling in for technical support, I want to make sure all of my information is safe, secure. So we are very strict on what the work environment looks like, and we expect 100% compliance for all of our advisors. So these are very important bullet points that we're going to go through. First, you do have to have a dedicated workspace or home office. It has to be a closed-off space. You couldn't work from, say, your living room or your kitchen or another open area. We do need to make sure that it has a door that can close and create a really safe, quiet workspace. We also suggest very highly that you have a lock on your door. So this is to prevent interruptions during working hours, which could be a breach of security. We want to make sure that you're the only one in that space. You also have to make sure that your environment is free from all distractions. So no kids, no pets, no partners or roommates or noise, no TV, phones, anything that would be going on in the background that would create a distraction while you're working. Think of it as a brick and mortar call center environment. So you wouldn't bring your pet or you wouldn't blast some music while you're working in a professional call center area. So we expect that you treat this position exactly the same. We also suggest putting a sign on the door to indicate to whoever else is in your home that you're working and it really needs to stay quiet and that you can't be interrupted while you're working. For this position, you do have to have high-speed internet. KellyConnect provides all of the equipment that you need to work as a remote technical support advisor. We provide computer, headset, power cables, everything you need to get up and running, but we do ask that you have a high-speed internet connection, and you also have the ability to hardwire to an Ethernet cable. Just for your reference, we do require that you have a 10 megabit per second download speed and a 3 megabit per second upload speed. If you don't know your internet speeds, you can call your provider or go on their website and they can let you know what speeds you're running. Because you are talking to customers over the phone, we often get asked about having a phone line or how do you take those calls from customers. So you don't have to have a phone line. Those calls are routed to you through a phone system that's already pre-set up on the computer we provide. So you don't have to worry about using your own phone line or cell phone or anything like that. So now that you know a little bit about the work environment, let's talk about the schedule. So I'm going to be totally upfront with you. There's not a lot of flexibility when it comes to scheduling. So working from home is absolutely amazing. And some people think that that means that they can kind of work whenever for however long that they like. Unfortunately, for our role, that's not the case. You would be set an assigned schedule in the same way that you're expected to show up on time and work your full shift for any on-site job. You're also held to the same expectations here. So if you're on the schedule, you're required to work. Attendance is 100% mandatory. So a lot of call centers, if you've ever worked for a call center before, they'll use a point system for attendance, meaning you missed a day of work, so you get one absence or one occurrence, and then say you reach 10 occurrences, at that point you're no longer able to continue with the company. That's not how we do things. We review attendance every 30 days. And if you are above the threshold that we set for that month and you have more occurrences than we've expected, you could face corrective action. That can be up to including termination. So there are some scheduling ways to avoid getting occurrences. You can swap shifts, you can give away your shifts, but it is your responsibility to make sure that your shift gets covered. If you're on the schedule and you call off, that's what would be considered an occurrence. So if you're on the calendar, you're expected to work. But we do know that life happens and then there are some scheduling options. Let's talk about what a schedule normally looks like. So you are scheduled for 5 days a week, which includes a weekend day, but I'll talk about that here in just a second. Your hours are a second shift, somewhere between 1 p.m. and 11 p.m. Eastern time. Now you don't work that entire shift. That's just the time frame that you could be scheduled within. You're scheduled for a 6 to 8 hour shift within that time frame. So you do need to have availability to work anytime within those hours because your schedule won't be perfectly consistent. You won't always be working the front end or end of that shift. It could vary within those hours. But by the end of the week, your schedule would add up to a full-time 38 or more hours per week. Something we also get asked pretty frequently is, do we have part-time schedules available? At this point, we are only hiring for full-time. Sometimes we do have part-time that comes available, but we don't have those options at the moment. So if you're looking for something that's a little more part-time, this may not be the best fit for you. All right, so let's talk about weekend days. We do have a little bit of flexibility and we do take your preference when it comes to day off preference. So it's a lot of information I'm about to give you. I'm going to go through it as slowly as I can, but just know that if you are interested in pursuing this position and you are selected for an interview, your recruiter would go through these options with you in a little bit more detail, so don't panic if you miss anything. But for weekend day off preference, you have two options. So one, you can select 2 static days off during the week, meaning anytime Monday through Friday. If you wanted to be off Monday, Tuesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, or even say Wednesday, Friday, you could select those 2 days and that would remain consistent for you every single week. The only thing you have to understand is that you would be responsible for working both weekend days every single week if you selected that option. Option 2, if you prefer to have a weekend day off, you can absolutely do that. You would select whichever day you want to have off. So let's say that you want to have Sundays off. You would have Sunday off every single week, but then you would always be working that Saturday. The other day that you have off during the week then floats, which means that it changes week to week and we would select it for you. So you would always have your Sunday off, but maybe one week you would have Monday, Sunday off, and the next week you might have Wednesday, Sunday off, if that makes sense. Like I said, if you were selected for an interview, you can talk about that in more detail with your recruiter, but I just wanted to give you a little overview of what the weekly schedules look like. Like I mentioned, it is a full-time position, a minimum of 38 hours per week. We do have overtime opportunities. And then we do require that you can work all holidays. So all capital ALL, everybody's working all holidays. We need all hands on deck during those times because our call volumes are really high. A lot of people receive maybe devices as a gift. So around the holidays, we have a lot of people calling in asking for assistance. We do try to be flexible with holidays, say Christmas, you may only be scheduled for a 4-hour shift. So that way we can be mindful of the time that you want to spend with your family, but we still need that additional help during those times. So that's a little bit about the schedule. Like I said, there's not a lot of flexibility and we like to be really upfront with that. We want to make sure that this schedule works absolutely the best for you. Working the second shift can be a little bit unique since it does overlap with, say, family dinners or if you have kids, bedtime. So we just want to make sure that you're taking all of that into consideration when applying for this position. All right, let's touch a little bit on some of the job requirements as well. So for this position, we don't require that you have previous call center experience. However, we do highly recommend having call center experience or some kind of high volume experience of some kind. In this role, you do take back-to-back calls from customers that maybe are frustrated or a little bit upset because their device isn't working properly. So if you've never done anything like that, it could maybe be a little bit of a shock. So we do recommend that you have some type of high volume experience. I think it's very helpful in this role. Do you enjoy technology? So obviously you're going to be helping customers with troubleshooting their devices like we talked about. So we're really looking for candidates who love working with technology. We do have an article database that will assist you in troubleshooting customers while you're working, but if you don't enjoy working with technology, it may not be the best fit for you since that's what you'll be talking about all day. And then do you have an eye for detail? So if you're passionate and enjoy working with technology, you know that it's ever changing. So a small system update or a technology upgrade can make minor changes and it can make getting to the root of an issue maybe a little bit challenging. So we're really looking for candidates that have an eye for detail and a willingness to, say, dig deep into issue. And then do you love helping customers? So of course, you're talking to customers back to back throughout your entire shift. Most of your day is spent speaking with one of our customers. If you don't like helping people, probably not the best fit for you. But anybody who's worked in a customer service field before knows that people can be so different. So you have to be able to adjust your approach in speaking with people and making sure that you're tailoring your conversation and the troubleshooting to the person on the other end of the phone. They're also experiencing a lot of frustration when their device isn't working. So being really empathetic towards that. And then last bullet point here is an interest in long-term growth opportunities. So this is a long-term position. Like Bree mentioned earlier, we are part of Kelly Services, which sometimes might have a reputation for being a short-term or temporary assignment position, offering those types of positions, but that doesn't apply to this role. This is a long-term opportunity with tons of growth opportunities. So I'm going to walk through some of those opportunities, but know that this is not a full list. There are a lot of options to grow with us. As a new advisor, you start out in the technical support role that we're discussing today, supporting tier 1 level of customers. But after a short time of supporting these customers, you'll begin to grow really quickly. So not only supporting phones and other handheld devices, but graduating to adding computers to your skill set. After you've been supporting phones and computers, then you move up to the next level, tier 2, so taking escalated calls for questions about phones or handheld devices. After that, even moving up to tier 2 for computers. So at the advisor level, you're consistently learning, you're growing, you're improving your skill set, and you're moving up through our 4 levels of what we call the continuity model, which is all of our different advisor levels. One thing that I haven't mentioned yet is pay rate. So the pay rate for this position starts at $13.50. After 90 days, you get a $1 increase to $14.50. And as you grow into these more advanced call queues that I just mentioned, you do receive an increase in pay each time. So your advisor earning potential is $17.50 an hour. But beyond advisor growth, there are other opportunities to grow with our program. So everyone's path from that point can be a little bit more unique. We hire all of our leaders from within. So all of our team leads, supervisors, and beyond started out as advisors, worked their way up through the program. So if leadership is something that you're passionate about, I think that those are absolute paths that you can pursue if that's something you're interested in. Besides just leadership, there are other opportunities in training. All of our training is done within our department. So if you wanted to grow into a trainer and teach what you know to a new advisor, that's absolutely a path that you can take as well. We also have quality assurance. So again, being able to coach and help people who are maybe newer to the program. Even though this is a work from home environment, it is very much like a brick and mortar call center. So there are opportunities to become a mentor or do what we call virtual floor walking, where you're walking around and answering questions and being a support to your fellow advisors. And with growth, you can start growing as early as 90 days. It's really, if it's something you're interested in, it does not take that much time to start moving up in the program if it's something that you're truly passionate about. So we touched on those 3 categories. If you feel like this is something that would be a great fit for you and you're confident in all of the requirements that we just talked about, then we're really excited to get to know you and to talk to you and to continue moving with you in the process. So I know that Bree outlined that she's going to be posting the link to apply in the chat. So if you are interested in that, you can go ahead and click through and start your application. I want to give you a little overview of what the application process is going to look like, so that way you know what to expect. Once you start your application, you'll notice that it's just going to start by asking for basic information, your name, your phone number, address, things that we'll need in order to create you a profile. Once you submit all of that information, you'll go through some basic screening questions just to make sure you have a full understanding of the position and you're comfortable with all of the details that we talked about today. If you are interested, or if you are comfortable with all of those and all of the screening questions come back positive, then at that point you will be provided a link to do some testing. So usually that testing comes within the next 24 hours or so. You'll receive it via email. The testing has to be done on a computer, so make sure that you have time to sit down at a computer and go through a couple of different testings. This can take anywhere from like 45 minutes up to an hour, depending on how quickly you go through it. So just make sure you set yourself up with some ample time. Once you're done with testing, if you if you meet the score that we're looking for with testing, at that point you would be eligible to schedule an interview with a recruiter. So again, we would contact you via email with our schedule. You're able to take a look at the schedule, pick a time that works best for you, and book an interview with a recruiter. And then following that, once you speak with a recruiter, if you're selected for the position, we would move you into our onboarding process, which the recruiter will discuss with you at that point. But we do have trainings that come every 3 weeks. So if for some reason the upcoming dates don't work for you, the ones that are listed in our pre-screening questions, don't worry, you can hold off for a couple of weeks and apply to our next training class. So we are continually hiring for this role. We have training classes scheduled through the end of the year. So if for some reason you have something coming up and you know that this isn't maybe the best time, we're absolutely going to keep that application open. So when it is the best time, you can submit your application. So I went through that a little bit quickly. I will ask Bree if you guys had any questions for me.
Yes, let me start my video back up. So there are lots of questions coming in, and Melissa has been able to answer a whole bunch of them. Thank you, Melissa.
Awesome.
So one question that came in is about the requirement for a lock on the door. If a person lives alone in a place, do they need to have a lock on their office door? If they have a specific room, of course, that's an office, but they're alone during the day because they live alone, do they still need to have that lock?
Sure. So we don't require the lock on the door. We just highly suggest it, especially if you do live with other people. We still need you to have a door that closes, because if somebody comes to the door, rings the doorbell, something else happens, we would like to have that extra barrier. But the lock is not a requirement if you're living alone.
Okay, great. And yeah, that's a good point. So the doorbells, the person knocking, dogs barking outside, it's all, yeah.
Exactly.
It's all possible.
Exactly. Yeah. Even if you live alone, there can absolutely be background noise.
Yes. And then this is a W-2, like you said, full-time position. What sorts of benefits are included?
Great question. So for benefits, we can direct you to find out a little bit more detail about exact benefits. For this role, we don't have employer contributed benefits, but we do offer discounted rates through a third-party vendor. So we could, if you are selected for an interview, we can always direct you to that third-party vendor and have a conversation with them about what would be the best package for you.
Okay. And let's see. Questions about, so this is a US-based position and it's available in most states, but not all. And there are some restrictions. I'll paste those into the chat as well. People are asking about if they are moving from one state to another, is that allowed? How does that kind of work? And then also for long-term vacations. I know we usually get a lot of questions where people might be in one place for 6 months of the year and another place for 6 months of the year. How does that work?
Good question. So yeah, you would absolutely be able to relocate on this program. Of course, you couldn't relocate to one of the states that we can't support. So Hawaii, Alaska, California, all the states that Bree is putting in the chat for you guys. If you were relocating to one of those states, we would not be able to support that. But if you were locating to 2 states that we do support, no problem at all. You would work with our HR team. They would help change your address in the system, make sure you got set up in your new home. Of course, the only impact that you would have to be very mindful of is schedule. So making sure that you're not missing any time due to your relocation. If you can have your internet set up in your new house ready to go, then when you relocate, you won't miss any time. That would probably be the ideal situation. In regards to temporarily working from other locations, if you're somebody who works half the year in one state and half the year in another, you would absolutely have to work with our HR team on that, just to make sure that taxes and all of that are being submitted correctly. But that is an option. Short term, I don't think that would be as easy, since all of your records would have to be updated. We do make sure that the computer is in the location that you told us that you're working from. So doing a short-term trip, you may not be able to transport your computer and your job with you, but if it was something where you were maybe half the time in one state and half the time in the other, you could work with our HR team on that.
Okay, great. And then in terms of the high-speed internet that people are required to have, do you require a hard line, being connected, wired internet, or is Wi-Fi acceptable?
Yes, you do have to have the ability to connect with an Ethernet cable.
Yep, which I've experienced why that is very important in these types of positions.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's see. I'm just scrolling here again. Okay, so when you are starting in this position, somebody's asking how quickly can you be placed into tier 2 or tier 3? Is it based on your proficiency test on the website? What is the yearly estimated pay for each tier? And I know you already went over kind of the earning potential, so that would just be good to say again, but then how quickly do people tend to move up?
Yeah, so really you can move up very quickly. Within 90 days of being in your tier 1 advisor role, you can start to move through that continuity model. It's not based off of the proficiency test, but rather your attendance and performance once you are on the program. And really you can move as quickly as you like.
All right, and it looks like Melissa's here. Hi, Melissa. Oh, so this question is, can my office be set up in my bedroom, or does it need to be a separate room that's only an office space?
Good question. So there are a couple of asterisks on that. Yes, it can be in your bedroom. However, if you share your bedroom with somebody else and they like to go to bed at 10 p.m., that's probably not going to be a good space for you. It has to be you have to be the only person in that space during working hours. If it's just your bedroom, you don't share it with anybody else, nobody's going to be coming in and out during those hours, then you can set up your office in a bedroom.
Great. All right. Okay, so this is a question about the city of Seattle versus the state of Washington distinction. This person lives in Washington, but not in Seattle. They're about 50 miles away from Seattle. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. So it's just the city of Seattle specifically. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
For your mailing address.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, we have one person says they live in Alaska, so this position will not work, but this was a great presentation. Cheers. So there you go.
Thank you.
And what specific equipment do you provide for the position?
Yes, so it can vary a tiny bit based on model and what we have available, but we do provide an iMac for for all advisors to use, along with their keyboard, headset, mouse, power cables, everything that you need in order to run your computer.
All right, great. And let's see. Talking about, you mentioned that the schedule is very set. It's really important that people kind of stick to that. Of course, life occurrences come up and things like that. Can you talk about what the time off process is? If there is vacation time, how long that takes to kick in? What does that look like?
Yeah, so after 1 year, you can qualify for 5 days of PTO. Prior to a year, if you would like to request time off, you can submit it through our time off request system. It's based off of business needs, whether or not that will be approved. So if for some reason you are requesting time off and it wasn't approved, you can use those scheduling options that I had talked about earlier. So maybe swapping shifts with somebody or seeing if somebody else will pick up a shift for you. It really depends on how long you're looking to request off and during what time of year. But you do have the option of submitting time off requests and then using those scheduling options as well.
Okay, great. And let's see, I'm just seeing if there are any. Okay, so this is a question about what is the process if you have to have surgery and be unavailable to work for about 3 months for the surgery and recovery? So sort of those unexpected big issues that come up in life. How is that handled?
Yeah, absolutely. So it really depends on your personal situation, but of course we know that life happens. We actually have in our HR team, we actually have a dedicated medical team who can assist you when those big life occurrences come up, and they'll be able to figure out maybe what the best option will be for you at that time.
Great. And is this position, does it ever require a camera to be used, or is it strictly an audio phone type position?
Great question. So you're not using a camera with your customers. However, you are using a camera on a regular basis for training, talking to your leadership, maybe talking to your teammates. So it is expected that you come up on camera and participate with your team. But when you're talking to customers, that will always be done over the phone.
Okay, great. And actually that is a good segue. What is the training process like and the general team management process? Are there meetings? What does it look like when you're a part of the team?
Absolutely. Good question. So because it is a virtual position, sometimes people think they're kind of floating out there on their own, but we have a really strong team dynamic. So for training, everybody is trained within a class. So we have specific training dates where everybody will start together. They'll be in a training room, kind of similar to how we are now, except everybody would be up on camera and go through the training materials. Some of it is instructor-led and some of it is self-guided, but it's 3 weeks of training and then 4 weeks of what we call a nesting period or ramp, which is you start to do the job, start to talk to customers, but you have a little handhold during that time. Somebody you can reach out to if you have any questions. And then once you are fully trained and in our production environment, you're assigned to a team underneath a team lead. So you have regular meetings with your team lead and your team. You also have a little chat option available. So if you have questions while you're on a call, you can reach out to your team and say, hey, quick question, I haven't come across this before. And then we do have supervisors over top of our team leads. So you may even interact with people who are outside of your team. But yeah, you do have very regular contact with a team and a leader.
That's great. Okay. This question is about how many breaks per shift for the, was it 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern? And how much time for a lunch break, or I guess in this case, it might be a dinner break from some people, but what do the breaks look like?
Yeah, great question. So in a typical 8-hour shift, you would have an hour lunch and 2 15-minute breaks.
Great. All right. That's pretty standard. One person wants to know what kind of phone comes with the position.
Yeah, so it's a phone system that's uploaded onto the computer. It's already preset and ready to go. So it's a typical call center type phone system in which you could see the queue of calls that are coming in and you can answer it from the computer.
All right. And then one person wants to know, is there ever the opportunity to go in directly into a tier 2 or a tier 3 position from the outside, or if that's only promoted from within?
Good question. Only promoted from within. So all of our leaders, all of our tier 2, they've all had the opportunity to work the front lines and then move their way up. So everyone is had the same experience and can kind of relate and really be helpful for those who are in tier 1. But we do only hire from that entry level role. Like I said, though, if moving up is something you're interested in, within 90 days, you can start to do that.
Great. All right. And then I know that there is about, is it 6 months of customer service experience required for the position? What is that specifically? Call center experience? Could it be any type of customer service experience? What do you look for?
Yeah, any type of customer service experience is fine. It could be working directly with customers in a store, face-to-face. It could be call center. It could be technical support. Any type of working directly with customer experience. Like I said, I do think that you will have a little bit of a step up if you've worked in a call center experience before. If you have that kind of in your work history, then you know what to expect. But for the requirement, it's any type of call center experience.
All right, great. And then let's see, I'm just scrolling through to see if there's any questions that we haven't already touched on. It looks like there is one that I would like to ask. This is particular to this person's situation, but I think a lot of people would be in a similar type of situation. So this person, their address is in Nevada. They have family in California. So if they were to do like a longer term visit where, let's assume they would have their office space perfectly set up there, is it okay to work from California for those few weeks if they reside in Nevada? But California is on that list of places where applicants are not taken if they reside there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, unfortunately, you can't work from California. So in that case, we would not be able to support that.
Okay, so it really, for anybody when you're working, it can't be done in one of those states or locales that applicants can't apply from either. It's all the same. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And just for anybody who's newer to remote work, I want to say it is very common. Most employers have location requirements like this. So one of the biggest tips I can give you is always look for what are the location requirements of each job and make sure that it matches the place that you reside and you're going to be working from, because it is really important. And a question we often get is, can we get around that? You know, I live in the state next to this state and all that sort of stuff. And the answer is almost always no. It's unfortunately very set in stone for pretty much every employer who does this, and most remote employers have those location requirements. So be on the lookout for them wherever you're applying. All right, and one last question about the part-time options. You said every now and then there are part-time opportunities. Is that someone where they would just want to look at the KellyConnect page for upcoming jobs and apply as they see them?
Yeah, we don't have anything in the near future that we're planning at this point. So I would say if that's something you're interested in, you're more than welcome to keep an eye on the website, check back with us pretty regularly and see if it does come available. Or you're welcome to also reach out to your local Kelly Services branch and see what other opportunities they might have outside of KellyConnect.
All right, that makes sense. I'm just going to advance to this last slide here. And first of all, thank you, Lauren, for going through the gauntlet of questions and answering everything so wonderfully, and also for the great presentation. This week, anybody who attended the webinar or registered for the webinar will receive a recap email with a recording of the webinar, links to the position, and any other resources that might be helpful in terms of this application. You can apply via FlexJobs if you're a FlexJobs member, or go directly to KellyConnect. Make sure you pay attention to those requirements, those location specifics. And I personally wish you all the best of luck. And Lauren, I would love to, if you have anything last minute that you want to add, please feel free.
Well, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to present, and I'm really excited to start to see some applications come in and talk to everybody.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Lauren. And thank you, Melissa, for working so diligently behind the scenes and typing like crazy. And thank you all for being here. Again, I hope you have a great rest of the day, and best of luck in your remote job search. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Bree.
Thank you.
Thank you.